It involved one person, and there's been no other, nor any other situations of unbecoming conduct for the last 20 years. I will not use the Bible to defend, protect, and deflect my past sin. I have no defense. I committed the adultery. In accordance with our church bylaws, I'm stepping aside, stepping down from ministry responsibilities, and have committed to the Lord and now to you that I will submit to the process and recommendations of this board. If you love us, please let us talk.
For 27 years, I lived in a prison. It was not 20 years. I lived in a prison of lies and shame. Lying to protect the Lowe family. For years, I thought I was a horrible person having suicidal thoughts, not realizing what had been truly done to me. That I was a victim, and I would still be in a prison if my brother, and many of you know him, Edgar Wolf, had not approached me just 2 weeks ago with what he had seen as a teenager that bothered him all these years. His pastor in bed with his younger sister, with t-shirt and underwear on. People knew but were too afraid to come forward, and they have now. The lies and the manipulation have to stop. I was a prisoner, and you kept me in your prison. I'm a prisoner no longer. I was just 16 when you took my virginity on your office floor. Do you remember that? I know you do, and I have plenty of other stories that I could bring to remembrance. You did things to my teenage body that had never and should have never been done. Don't look at me like that. You know the truth. I know, but you can tell the truth because this is a lie.
I'm letting you tell the truth.
But you need to tell the truth. You know better than it was.
Listen, my wife is not just adultery, it's another level when it's a teenager. And I will not let this man talk about my wife like that. It happened for 9 years. When she was 15, 16, the sexual grooming started. And it lasted until she met me and we started dating. This is the truth. This was Bobby's covenant of purity ring, which she wore while this man had sex with her. And she felt ashamed all these years wearing the covenant of purity ring. She felt out of shame and guilt. We are working through love and forgiveness. We are working through it. But people have to be held accountable, and they can't just bamboozle people and just say, well, I just committed adultery. It was far beyond adultery. So here's the covenant of purity ring back. I don't want it in my home. We're done.
If you did it, you need to admit it. That's right. 100% back.
I told you I committed adultery. I told you that it went on far too long.
Did you do it? That's all we need to be honest.
Yes, we did.
You didn't tell them she was 14 years old.
No, at 16.
Sorry, 16.
She was 16 years old, Jay. Okay? And it was wrong. I can't say it. I can't make it right. I can't make it any better. You know, it's been 20 years. I guess it doesn't count for anything. We loved them. I deeply hurt them. I deeply hurt you. I ask you to forgive me. And that's all I can do.
A woman in her 40s recently came out against Pastor John Lowe II of New Life Christian Church and World Outreach in Warsaw, Indiana. And this hits close to home. I am based out of Indiana. Okay, so he tried to minimize it, which is what abusers will do. He minimized it by calling it an affair, which it was far from an affair. An affair would have been between two consensual adults. The other party knew that you were married and was an adult and still consented to going along with you and carrying out the affair. Okay, she's still young. 40s is still young. She went on to tell her story of feeling suicidal at some points in her life and blaming herself. All right. And then she went on to say that she didn't even want to tell the story until her brother came to her and spoke with her about a memory that he had of walking in and seeing her in bed with the pastor with his own eyes. And that's what finally gave her the courage to stand up. Now, notice how her husband was being the protector that he is absolutely supposed to be. And he stood by his woman's side and he supported her. He believed her and he stood up with her. Okay? He stood up to that pastor and said, we're not going to accept this. This is the truth and you need to admit to it. Also, notice how the congregation as well came together as a village is supposed to, as a community is supposed to. All right. And someone stood up and said, if this is true, you need to admit to it, and asked, is this true? And called for an admission and asked whether it was true or not. And also, we also heard a woman speak out and say, but you didn't say it was when she was 14 years old. And notice how, again, the abuser tried to minimize it and say, well, she was 16, as if that was any better. That is not okay. She was still underage. It is never okay for an adult over 18 years old to have any sexual dealings with a child, because that is exactly what they are. They are a child under the age of 18 and they are not legally able to consent. It is not okay. Some of these church leaders abuse their authority and power and use it to wield over others, to take advantage of them, to abuse them, to manipulate them. If you see this going on, please stand up as you saw the people in this video do, the village, the community in this video do. Do not just sweep it under the rug. All right, husbands, be the head of the household. Protect your wives. Protect your children. Stand up.